it's almost like I'm bemused, and it's sort of, it's a story, it's something that's going on.
Yeah.
But there's a kind of a question of why, and
why what?
Why it's happening? Why? And the thing that's really there currently, it feels in the collective in a big way, is the man-woman. So that's the relationships between man and woman.
You know, this whole thing between man and woman led me into and not only me, but so many of us, to try to clarify this, and the deepest, and I'm sure it's no news to you, the deepest realization of that is coming back to the original masculine and feminine aspects of consciousness, right? As in stillness and movement. Yeah. So the awareness of all that you're speaking of being the male, the first male aspect, before any form is taken, absolute intelligence must be here before any form is manifested, right? Yeah. Absolute, what we call the absolute awareness, where there is no thingness, this being the male aspect of consciousness. And then out of the depth of that energy arising as Shakti and giving birth to creation, right? So in the first place, this being the true male and female aspects of consciousness. So when we see that as one, and we know that as one here, we know that there is no separation between male and female. Yeah? My seeing and realizing is that the whole dysfunction and problem in all areas, in all ways, is the belief in separation. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Which comes when I overlook this and take myself or identify with any one aspect, and I land anywhere, it's the beginning of duality. that if I come back and inquire into what is really here, what is really what I am, I'm knowing that I'm absolute stillness and I'm everything that moves. And I'm meeting that here. If this meeting is here as the ground of true meeting, then all the dysfunction of the male-female aspects, the projections and all the thing, if all of that is arising and being met in one awareness, that's the way that it can all come back. If there's any answer to why, it's because of that overlooking and that misidentification. Because if this is here to hold any meeting, all the dysfunction can play. And it's held in a true meeting. It's like those lost children coming home.
I get it sort of intellectually at some level, but I'm not sure I really.
So in this moment, do you find a place where you end and I begin?
Yeah. It feels like there's something that's kind of fighting it and resisting it.
Yeah, that's fighting or resisting it is being known.
It is being known, yes.
In awareness. So what is knowing that? When you go to that knowing, whatever's fighting and resisting that is old habits. There's a deeper knowing, right? There will still be habits of resistance, habits of collective belief systems, and all of that playing in awareness. And yet, what is the deepest knowing? Is all of that is phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a come and a go. It's a constant changing, it's energy and movement. Yet what remains constant is the knowing. That knowing, which I'm calling the male aspect, is right here. It's right here. And it's in every living being, that knowing. Yeah? You can find that knowing if you just go to what you deeply know. And all that energy that moves into resistances and patterning and all of that is Shakti that has got gone into distorted manifestations. But the knowing, the knowing is here, right in every single one of you as pure awareness. And yet there is constant movement of mind, emotion, feeling, sensation. And that is what I'm calling the feminine aspect, the female aspect of consciousness. Now, how do these two energies meet and dance as one? Because we've either been, in our evolutionary process, we've either been in awareness or we've been in the movement of mind and emotions. But now we're being called to bring that male aspect into the energy we move. And that's where consciousness enters experience. And that's what I call the lovemaking of existence, taking place through you. And it wasn't until I clarified that point in myself that I got what was going wrong in my relationship. Yeah. Yeah. So when the deepest consciousness here is entering my experience, it's already happening. If there's a split between those two energies, it's being reflected outside.
Excuse me. When you're saying like,
Excuse me.
when you're saying like the awareness that meets the whatever sensation movement, you're saying like the full acceptance, is no resistance to or separation from it. Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is, when you, what is your deepest knowing in any given moment? If from that you move into experience, that deepest knowing becomes manifested into energy. So quite often we have a deepest knowing, but we do something different. And we do something different out of conditioning, fear of not being loved, whatever, you name it. But what we do on the surface in action is not always the same as what we deeply know. And therefore there's a split between those energies. So when what we deeply know, even if we move with what we deeply know into experience, that might disrupt a lot of things in our life.
Yeah.
So we prefer not to do what we deeply know. Instead, we will compromise and bring the false male energy, the shadow, and compromise that deepest knowing. Yeah. And therefore create the shadow of the feminine out of control and fear. Yeah. So when we get really clear that whatever decision we're ever trying to make in any given moment, what do we know deeper than anything? Okay, if I move with that, oh my God, that's going to rock my world. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, when that clarified here a few years ago, it rocked my world. It ended a relationship I was in for 7 years. Couldn't work out why I couldn't end it and why was I in it and what's the point and what. I couldn't work it out for a few years, but I knew I had to be in it. And why I had to be in it was to clarify this. And the moment that that was clarified and I moved from the deepest knowing, it moved all of my world, all of his world, and beyond into true movements, right movements, right movements. Everything evolved in a very quick way for him and still is, and also for me, because I moved with a true movement from my deepest knowing. That's the mail I was trying to call from him. I couldn't get it from him because I wasn't moving from it. Right? I couldn't call it from him. Why not? That was mirroring something in me, you know. So when I clarified that point and moved from what I deeply knew, it was the most fearful thing I ever wanted to do in all of this, but I had to do it because it was the knowing. So dare you to live from that knowing, regardless of consequences.